of Kittens and Broken Things. Chapter 3. Lau spent a lot of time staring at the mid-base ceiling. She had to get herself together. Noveria had been a disaster. She hadn't been able to save Benezia. When she thought about Liara's mother, her own mother's voice came into her head. Kara, I'm so sorry. She made her choices. In the end, she tried to do the best she could do. You couldn't have saved her. Who decides couldn't, Mom? She felt the rush of her mother's humor and love. In this case, young lady, I do. Kara closed her eyes, imagined her mother holding her hand, kept the flow of humor and love traveling through her, and she wasn't alone. She was immobilized and couldn't turn her head into the pillow. Couldn't cry for Liara or for herself, for her parents, or for a singing queen in a cage with no mate and maddened children. And then no children. But she wasn't alone, and that's what mattered. Mom? Yes? You're dead. What do you know? More humor, shared from a posthumous running joke. I know I love you, Kara. I love you too. Always. Then part of her was back on Mindwar, when she'd been in bed with a twisted ankle. Her father had brought her warm bread from the oven with Kiki nut butter, and another part of her was wondering what to do next. She pulled out her Omni tool. Georgia was now in storage, a relic from her prior single-track life. This Omni tool was named Puck because she'd read a lot of Shakespeare while recuperating. How now, spirit? Whither wander you? It seemed a whimsical thing for an Omni tool to say. Puck also seemed like great company. At the time, she'd had no idea whether she was wandering at all, but Puck had been her company and escort through her wanderings on the extranet. One more way in which she was not alone. Puck was customized to a forest green. She read up on Pharos, Prothean ruins, a shady corporation, exogeny, Geth. Time flew as she studied, took notes, jumped from source to source, from survey studies to infrastructure, reports about looting, marking a few interesting side articles about Prothean artifact museums and the rights to relics, social attitudes and legalities. Liara came by, brought her a tray of food. Liara couldn't quite look at her, and Lal's gaze softened. She sat back. Lal gestured to the curtain around her bed, and Liara drew it. Lal motioned her in and whispered, I couldn't close that for myself. Thank you. She took Liara's hand. Tell me about your mother, please? Liara looked at Commander Shepard, Lal, Kara, and was mentally dizzy. It cut through the grieving in a strange way. Curiosity about humans, about this person. Liara had her in her head, but she had no right to her memories, her thoughts, the deep waves of whimsy and bright hope, cliffs of darkness and overcast storms that changed landscapes. She wasn't asking as Commander Shepard. Liara tried to go get a chair, but Lal held onto her hand and pulled her down by the side of the bed to sit. Please, stay. Quietly, we can talk. I want to know. Liara looked at her. It seemed she did, and it seemed Liara believed it. Lal's hunger for everything and news of everything invested her eyes with the background of strain, of physical pain and emotional stress. Liara told her. Well, I was an awkward child. Shy. Lal broke into a huge grin. I know this story. Liara realized with a start that this was human humor, not literal. She wasn't asking Liara not to tell her because she already knew the story, or saying her story was too boring to waste time on hearing. She was trying to empathize. Liara would have to learn. Liara said, My mother's life was glamorous, glittering, either swarmed by attendees or sequestered in study. I still do not know why she chose to have a child that late in life. I did not seem to fit into her schedule. I was mostly with caretakers. I was not lonely, but she was the glittering whirlwind. I missed the excitement when she was gone. There was one day when I was very small. She had brought me with her into her sanctum, her study, and I was allowed to walk around, expected to respect the space. I saw a beautiful sculpture that captured my attention. She seemed like the glittering whirlwind captured for all to see, to hold. The first thing outside my mother that gave me that feeling, I asked a silly question. What would happen if I took this away? I vaguely wanted to know I was more important than that beautiful thing, that I would not get in trouble if I touched it or smudged it, or if it was just not there any longer, if that were somehow my fault. That she would still love me. She smiled at me and said, Little Wing, you can have it. It is, priceless. I still have it. A bust of the goddess from... Well, that does not matter so much. She had an open alcove built into my room to hold this priceless sculpture. I did take it away when I left. Lal said, It does matter so much. I want to hear about it. Do you have pictures? I want to know more. I want to know about Protheans. Our next mission is on Pharos. What do you want to know about Protheans? Everything. Lal listened to her talk about her mother, her life, Protheans, for hours. They used the thin bedding as tissues when they both cried. They told stories, privacy provided, in the curtain and Dr. Shakwas's discreet absence. Liara got tired of talking long before Lal got tired of listening. It was a lovely thing to be the focus of the whirlwind. Dinner went cold.
Garrus came by twice to check on her, ashamed that he wanted to get close enough to eavesdrop.
Pharos had a distinct lack of anything noteworthy that was Prothean, so unfortunately Liara had very little to contribute. She still tried occasionally, saying things like, This architectural style has been found on many planets. There was not a great deal of diversity in Prothean design at this time in their expansion. Lal asked her, carefully navigating the inadvisable skyway, Why is it that when I look up Prothean artifacts, I mostly see broken rocks, Liara?
Oh, I know that one. Asari were the first out into space. If you want to see real Prothean artifacts, now you need to go to Thessia.
Asari have been excellent caretakers.
That is true. So excellent that Turians aren't allowed on most of the religious sites, which happen to house the most valuable artifacts. Maybe it's something about us only having 3 fingers. We're unreliable, can't pick things up as well as you 5-fingered guys. Talons will scratch to finish.
Lal laughed, but she was still preoccupied by driving, and would be for a while. She shot down targets according to the priority she'd established regarding their relative strengths and weaknesses. This Mako was slightly twitchy, and she wanted to adjust the carriage and the programming, but she felt Garrus might take that as criticism. Maybe she'd sneak down and make the alterations while he was on shore leave someday. No. If she was going to be an adult, she should just mention something about it herself. But Garrus took so much pride, and she didn't want to hurt his feelings. She could make do with it. It just tweaked her when she knew it could be incrementally better. If she made the changes in secret, Garrus would notice and either put it back the way it was or wonder who was messing with his baby. Garrus was near as earnest as Liara about his job and his work, and that's why she brought Liara and Garrus with her so often, certainly on the more critical missions. They got the job done. She felt safer, and although she was no more able to be herself, she experienced fewer assaults, fewer tweaks. She'd learned that if she brought out Caden and Rex, it was a blessing and a curse. She didn't have to worry about Caden looking at her longingly. Caden had done it once, and Rex had caught it. Rex spent spare moments talking about human mating habits, making suggestions about ways Caden could get her attention, or realize she wasn't interested. It had put Caden at a baseline of being too embarrassed to look at her, and she was grateful to Rex for that. Lal lent half an ear to Liara trying to defend her people and make absolutely clear that 3 fingers were not an issue, while Garrus laughed and Lal smiled, making notes to look up historical points brought up by an amused Turian needling a defensive and humorless Asari. Lal thought one of the worst parts of the mission was the smell of the Thorian. She was proud of her team. Lal was learning to alter her humor, and she was better able as Shepard to use the excuse to tailor to her teammate, build a rapport. Liara's biotics were impressive. Garrus's rifle was irreplaceable. Strategically, she also favored Tali on missions that would be heavy on Gath because of her hacking ability. So she had 3 team members she was most comfortable with, and that was progress. She'd have no problem ordering Garrus to change the navigation programming and sensitivity of the guidance as Commander Shepard, but she didn't want to. This was a tiny thing, an insignificant thing. Maybe it could be a personal thing? Not a command imperative, but a request? She could build rapport? She liked Garrus. She liked him a lot. Things had gone well with Liara. Maybe she could make a friend. Here she felt almost crushingly guilty. What kind of friend can you make when you're lying about everything except your next strategic move? Maybe a strategic friend? She paced in her cabin, talking out loud to herself, a theatrical habit. She rehearsed conversations, outcomes, impressions, hands making wide gestures. She addressed the universe in general. Unfortunately, though, she temporarily had a gallery of stuffed animals to address. Now they were gone. She stood her pillows up on their ends and shaped some folds, made it look like they had lumpy faces and expressions of, well, probably they were ill. They would still have to do. They did not look cheerful despite strategic leaning. Okay, so you probably don't want to be here. This is demeaning to us all, but we go to conversation with the advisors we have, not the advisors we want. So, strategy in a military sense is clean. It involves people, but it involves people that have roles. I have the right to tell Garrus what to do with his rifle. I don't even have to tell him at this point, he just does it. He's good. He's adopted my strategies, codes, and hand signals, and if he has a suggestion, it is respectful. Unlike Rex. Yes, you're right, Left Pillow. Yes, you need a better name. Respect is important, LP. That could also be for Lumpy Pillow, but that would not be distinctive, would it? Right, Lumpy Pillow. That's right! Right, Lumpy Pillow. Oh, sorry, this is not going to work. You're Clarence, you're Persephone. No, I won't explain. Look it up. That's insensitive because you don't have hands. I'm sorry. Okay, so I can give him orders, and he will take them, and that's because that's his training set. He volunteered for that, unlike certain pillows upon whom I am enforcing my whimsy. I should just let him do his job, you say? Do not force him to smile? That is an excellent point. It's also very sad. So I can bark orders, Elcor Commander, all that. It's rehearsed. It's stylized. There's a script. A mission. So I'm good at that. That I get, but people as people. Garrus as a person. I am the first person to be aware that everybody has hidden personality traits. My hiding is possibly more extreme in execution. I hear you laughing, Persephone. Yeah, that's fair. My hidden personality traits are boring in content. I live in a military world where extremity and being able to take it are idealized. And I fear the disapprobation of a pillow. I see you smirk, Clarence. I really can't take much. I don't want to take it. I don't want to prove that I can take it. I'm not extreme. I'm not in the set of extreme. I'm outside that set, in a little tiny fluffy bubble somewhere, alone, hoping not to collide with another harsher Venn diagram set that likes to shove and swear. So, what if I liked him as a potential friend, or a potential friend? Shut up! A woman that talks to pillows is not what he's after. No offense. I don't even think Turians can. I am not looking that up. This is about the Mako. Yes, it is. Garrus is by all presentation a hardcore person. A kind, funny, hardcore person who glows. I can't explain the glow. So why do I talk about it? Because you're pillows. You're not going to tell anybody. Only I can hear you. So, maybe his kindness and humor are intentional, to blend in with my command style, which is casually humorous. Not at anybody's expense. No hazing, just camaraderie. Lighten the mood. Inspire the troops stuff. Freak out Liara? She's trying to adapt. I'm discovering that explaining humor is even funnier when faced with blue confusion. Garrus and I are both guilty. So we do have something in common besides mayhem. But I think he likes the mayhem an awful lot. I am a means to an end person. Mayhem to an end? It has to have an end. I'm mixing metaphors badly. Stop. Is that a metaphor or an idiom or is... This is why I have to practice talking. If I go out there and mayhem to an end comes out of my mouth, we are all doomed. What? Yes, it is true that I have let Rex cut Caden down because I don't want to do it myself. Doesn't that make me resourceful? Or does that make me guilty of weakness of character and cowardice? Do not answer that. I know the answer. I'm a hypocrite. Garrus was holding my hand when I woke up screaming. He keeps glowing. Yeah, I know the synesthesia glow means important, but it usually fades once I figure it out. I haven't figured him out. What? He's a person and not a problem? Tell that to my brain. Maybe I'm just crazy? Well, that would be a popular opinion. I can't blame you for having it. In a military sense, well, I have a track record of crazy things that I've done. So, I'm crazy. But it works. For me. And only me. And I had better keep it to myself. Yeah. Commander Shepard, the first human Spectre, Ambitions in life. Take down Saren. Retire to a small cottage with a bazillion cats and stuffed animals. I'll bring you guys. You'll like it. Bake. Never talk to anyone. Except for you, of course. We're friends. I need you guys. Fine. I'll talk to him about the Mako because it's a command decision. That's in the Venn diagram of technical mentoring. Then I'm coming back here and reading for hours, and you can't stop me. I'm making a vow. Unbreakable vow. I will meander all over the extranet with no goal. I'm going. She was trying to think of ways to bring up Mako alterations on her way down to talk to him, not visibly nervous because this was a Shepard thing, and she'd categorized what the bounds were.
Garrus saw her coming, grateful to see she walked without a limp, no lingering damage from Novaria. She gritted her teeth and gotten them through Pharos, and the worst thing had been the smell. The Thorian had not been a creature of light and water, but malignant lurking and corrupted servants. A description of the smell would not go in the report, but it was the thing that soaked into his hide, into his mind. Horror lurking in the dark, deep under the surface, with a smell that seemed to alert the brain that the mind was about to be lost. He had wondered while they'd shot down helpless servants how much time the Thorian needed to reach out and take a mind away from its owner. Had it been trying to link unseen into his mind? Shepard didn't want to talk about that. Shepard had not hesitated to walk into the dark.
When she started talking to him, she could tell immediately that he was preoccupied. Unfinished sentences seemed the same thing in human and Turian. Odd how things translated with emotional content and more than just the words. Some of her extranet meandering would involve looking up adaptations and theory of tuning translation devices to the human mind. This seemed beyond tension-breaking moments on missions, beyond his sympathizing with the pain she was in with her leg. This seemed a moment of personal reflection. The Mako could wait. She asked him. Something on your mind?
He considered discussing the mission, what was really on his mind, but he didn't want to seem to be tripped up on it. He could handle something smelling bad. It was hard to explain. Humans did not have Turian noses. It would come out as trite. Then he'd have to point out that he had a better sense of smell, and that could be disastrous. What would Commander Shepard be interested in talking about? Something had been bothering him. Something less existential crisis. He spoke to her about Celion.
Lal got very excited about procedure and plot, internally fascinated. Normally she'd sit back and listen, but this was incredible. She enthused. This is fascinating. Did you alert hospitals? Take genetic screening codes and ask them to look for patients requiring immune-suppressive treatments? Look for cause of rejection? I'm sure you snagged some recipients. Add in some forensic accounting and you had a net of cause and effect, and with the recipients dependent on medical care and losing faith in their surgeon.
Garrus held perfectly still. Well, yeah, if he thought of that, he'd... Oh, shit. Now he felt like... was... an idiot. Well, no, I questioned some of his employees.
So you alerted him that he was under investigation? She was starting to get a very bad feeling about this. Oh, Garrus, I hate to say it, but maybe CSEC wasn't the right place for you.
Yes, he was alerted.
She corralled her enthusiasm and did not say, so you had him under surveillance and you snatched him before he did anything shady? Investigated all tracks, employees, recipients, maintenance personnel, supply records looking for specific drugs used for transplant?
Garrus wanted something to explode as a distraction. The grenades were too far away. He said, he got away in his ship. with a lot of test subjects.
She stared at him, nodded slowly, and said, "All right. What happened?" This was a terrible story.
He replied, distress subharmonics squeaking. Hopefully Rex could not hear them from here. He got away. He's still out there.
She swallowed hard, seeing that this was unfinished business and not a cool war story. Garrus thought with his gun and with his heart and was not, well, all that sneaky. She was sneaky. She could help. Do you know where he is now?
Garrus nodded. I've done some digging, internally kicking himself for not being creative enough, abashed to be telling her, but also inspired that she knew how to get things done. This was why he followed her.
He transferred the code to Puck and she checked it out. She told him she'd do what she could to get him brought in.
I'd like to go.
She looked at him closely. We've got more important things to do. You're better than that, Garrus.
He thought, No, I'm really not.
She looked at him more closely. I can have him brought in. With what you've said, we can go back and get all the evidence we need. We'll track down employees, donors, and those who bought organs. We need to know their methods. We need to know what happened. We'll set a net and bring them in. Bring them all in. With what you just gave me, we have everything we need for a court case. This could clean up the Citadel. You should be proud.
He was not proud. Garrus touched his tongue to a point of a tooth and said, Yes, Commander. Thank you.
She thought this was not a good time to bring up the Mako. Maybe later.
Garrus would really like one of those grenades.
She enjoyed this side project. She split her attention between sailing on and what they were off into next. She was going to help Rex pick up his hat. She talked to Anderson, made some calls to the medical outlets on the Citadel, and also alerts to the main medical facilities on Council planets. There had been several cases of organ rejection, some resulting in deaths. Samples were plentiful for genetic testing, enough evidence was gathered, and the Alliance stormed his ship, gassing the entire place ahead of time, brought him in for trial. And Rex got his hat. She presented the entire file to Garrus, the ongoing investigation revealing black market infrastructure on several worlds and the Citadel.
That's amazing, Commander. Thank you for your help.
But he didn't seem happy about it. She wondered why.
He wondered why she dragged a moronic Turian with her anywhere and decided not to tell any more the big one that got away stories.
Clarence and Persephone heard all about it when Garrus seemed unwilling to discuss it. At least they were proud of her. She could tell. She never did mention the Mako to him. He seemed a little stressed.